Thank you for tuning in to Crypto Kid podcast. So today I have a special guest on the show. He the to tell us more how to help us out with blockchain and is being used to help people to get out with a fresh start coming out of prison. And I met Mr. Franklin at the Government Blockchain Association. He's a great guy. Took a picture of him and his crew, met everybody that he worked with. Fantastic people, very honorable, and people that I admire that are trying to help those straighten out their lives and setting up programs. And he's going to explain more about those programs. And I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day for coming on the show, and welcome. So tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me, Sonny. Or do I call Crypto Kid?
Either or. Doesn't
All
matter.
right, I like that, Crypto Kid. But my name is Franklin Smith, and I am the Community Resource and Housing Director of Freedom Project Washington. We are a grassroots community-based organization that was created to work alongside communities to assist with dismantling the institutions of mass incarceration in the school to prison pipeline and the traumatic effects that place on individuals that are directly impacted by the criminal justice system and or their families that may be impacted by that system as well. A lot of the work that we do is work in helping to prepare people. So we do a lot of pre-release and post-release work. Pre-release work is working with people to help them prepare to come home. And then the post-release work is to provide that support in the community to help them navigate the many different systems, social service systems, education systems, employment systems that are out here in the community, and making sure that they have resources in place to help them realize their plans. So we have a lot of individuals that come out that may have served 10, 15, 20, 25 years, if you can imagine that 25 years of incarceration. Where would that person be if they didn't have somebody to assist them in the community with support?
Okay.
I mean, if when you look at it, we understand, and it kind of helps to frame contents to the school to prison pipeline, is the fact that when you come to understand that before a person is even introduced to any type of system, be it criminal justice, be it education, that person has experienced some kind of trauma in their life.
I agree. I agree.
ahead.
And I think the prison system is very ratchet because it gets people institutionalized where they can't, even when they get released, they have a hard time with coping with society and getting their feet on the ground. And then on top of that, which is a very important issue, is people stereotype those that have felonies. I have suffered that. And I know people close in my that I hang around with that experience that, and they're trying to get out of it. And it's just a nonstop. It's just like when you go to apply for a job, it's like, oh, you have a felony, I'm sorry, you can't work here. So like what quote unquote criminals are doing is they're starting their own business and they're actually becoming more successful. And I want to be able to encourage those who have felonies to keep pushing on and find a way to get your feet on the ground and to look for resources in your community. So where exactly are you located?
Well, I'm located in Kent, Washington,
Okay.
which is a part of King County. And, you know, you're absolutely correct. That, and even that was with myself, because of the stigma that is put on individuals that come, that after doing their time, you're still having to deal with stereotypes, you're still having to deal with labels and classification. You know, one of the things that, because I'm formally justice involved myself. So you see, I don't use that word, I'm an ex-convict. I don't use the word, I'm an ex-inmate, formally justice involved. It speaks to what I've been through without classifying me as being somebody. It just means you're somebody that was involved in the criminal justice system. So it doesn't have a negative connotation as, well, you're an ex-convict. And I basically, as I was going through my period of my tour, I call them tours, throughout the Department of Corrections, I was introduced to some work of an individual, Dr. Wade Nobles, where he talked about what true power is. And it's not how many bombs you got, it's not how big you are, it's not how much money you have. True power is your ability to define somebody's reality and have them accept it as if they created it themselves. So one of the problems that we have is we have individuals that re-submerge from inside of those situations, and they wear the stereotype. They believe it because they have heard it so much that it turns out to be more of an excuse than an opportunity for them to be able to move forward. As you say yourself, you became an entrepreneur. You went in with an entrepreneur's heart and came out and started applying what was already in you to your betterment and not your detriment. And because that, you're able to provide opportunity for others. You are that example of change that we would like to see in everybody that come out. And so my thing, and this is also to your listeners, that I tell everybody, if you know somebody or you're somebody that happens to be in the justice system, especially if you're incarcerated, let's not look at it as incarceration. Let's look at it as opportunity to improve. Let's look at it as an opportunity to take advantage of whatever schooling. When I went in, I didn't have a high school diploma. I came out, I had one. I didn't have a college degree. I came out, I had one. And I had employment skills, but because of my degree in business, I was able to take that and introduce it to transitional housing and created one of the largest communities in South King County.
That's awesome.
From there, because of the work with assisting adults in transitioning from prison, I was actually contacted by the Washington State Department of Corrections to help them develop a reentry model.
Wow, so they're using you. That's
Bingo.
awesome.
Or they're using my model
Yeah.
to be able to understand that if we spend time encouraging people to utilize what's available. Now, we know systems throughout our country are not the same. County jails are not the same. The federal prison is not the same as the state prison. Washington State Department of Correction is light years away from what you're going to find down south. You have some institutions that don't believe in allowing individuals to go to education or have educational opportunities inside of their system. When we know that the further a person goes academically, the lower the recidivism rate for that person becomes. Okay, so even with that type of information, we still have states that find it more fashionable to use that labor. You know, it's kind of funny because we're going into Juneteenth weekend, which they call the Freedom Celebration.
Okay.
Juneteenth is the celebration of the emancipation of slavery in the state of Texas, at least for this time of the year. The 13th Amendment was actually ratified in like December, where throughout the United States, it was officially known that slavery was over.
Okay.
And that was December 16th, 1886. But the thing was, as part of the 13th Amendment, it said slavery and forced servitude is abolished in these United States, except for those people who are in prison.
I heard about that.
Within the United States of America, those people can be placed in forced servitude.
Yep.
So there's still a form of slavery that exists today, but to prevent individuals from having an opportunity to use that time to improve their intellectual capacity, to broaden their understanding by introducing to new information, is more of a punishment or a crime than whatever the individual committed prior to going in there.
And they want to keep you coming back.
Bingo, you're keeping a person locked in a state of thinking that led them to prison in the first place. And as we say, if we look at, like they say, 90+% of the people that are incarcerated have some type of substance abuse issue or had some type of substance abuse issue. If we go into there, then we could probably find that a good majority of those people had some type of traumatic experience in their life prior to doing whatever they did. Now, this is not making an excuse for what they did. This is just identifying what could be. Go ahead.
How do you help people that are coping with substance abuse and helping them get over their addiction?
Well, like I'm a recovering addict.
Okay.
And I'm a person that I went through the system more than once. But the one thing that became clarity is the fact that I have to come to understand and recognize what trauma had existed in my life that I was using self-medication to cover.
As
I was making myself numb from. So just being totally transparent, is the fact that when I was when I was 13, 14, I was molested in the church.
Ooh.
That was one of several different layers of trauma that I had been exposed to in the community prior to being 16 years old.
Are you still a Christian or?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, they say, God grant me the peace of mind, except what I can't change. I can't change what happened back then.
Right.
So I can't have animosity towards people who don't look like me because some clown took advantage of me as a child.
Okay.
And I did that for years, and for years, all I had was anger and frustration. And as we know, anger is an energy. Happiness is an energy. One's positive, one's negative. So if I want to be happy and explore positive energy, that's what I do today. Instead of dealing in dope, I peddle hope and opportunity. But at the same time, I know that if I allow that negative energy to continue to involve or envelope around me, then I'm still giving that person who abused me power.
That's true.
Just like the person who comes out of prison, who sees himself as a convict, who sees himself as an inmate, who says there's no opportunities in society because he's did this time, instead of investing in his future and allowing himself, giving himself a chance to allow himself to have another life. Eventually people get there. But at the same time period, just like yourself, just like with myself, there's gonna be some bumps in the road.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some readjustment. There's gonna be some reinvention.
You're gonna have to find a way. I would like to consider myself as like an acclimated man. And I don't know if you consider yourself like someone that could adjust to their situation. And you definitely got the persona to do it. And this is an awesome project that you're working on. And like, it's nonprofit organization. That's what caught my eye. Like, you're not, it's why not try to make some money out of this?
The thing is, I mean, when we look at exploitation, I mean, there was a time in my life that because of that thinking, I didn't really care about anything except for what was the reward, because I didn't really understand what the true reward should be. And so I spent a lot of my time taking, and all that got me was prison.
Right.
When I stopped taking and started being of service instead of trying to get service, then my life started to change. And I'm not one of those people that's going to stand up on a milk carton and tell you Jesus is coming to save you. But if you want to know how good God has been in my life, I've served five different trips in prisons over a 20-year period. I've probably been to every prison in Washington State. I was homeless in downtown Seattle, living in the jungles, living in a tent for over 6 years of my life. And today, I was the first justice-involved person, formerly justice-involved person, to be recruited by the state to help them create a reentry model. And I'm a director of housing and community resources for a nonprofit that supports 35 individuals statewide, 90% of which are individuals that are formerly justice involved, just like myself.
Okay. Okay.
And our job is to assist in preparing people and to preparing them to come home, and then providing them with support once they come back to the community.
All
That's
right.
our passion. That's our pleasure. That's what we do. And the beautiful thing was, I did this for about 5 years for free. Now I get paid for it. And I
But
get to travel to places like Washington, DC.
yeah, that's where we met.
That's where we met.
Exactly. So
So
how
go
is,
ahead.
sorry, how is your company or the organization, I should say, how is blockchain helping you help others? Is the most
Well,
important thing.
so the funny thing is, I mean, so my day job is being the director of housing and community resources with Freedom Project. I have another nonprofit that we started called Fresh Start. So
Mhm.
Fresh Start is a youth model where our sole focus is strictly on how do we dismantle the school to prison pipeline, not talk about it. We know for the last 30 years, we've been
Mhm.
talking about the existence of the school to prison pipeline and how by the time you get to the 3rd grade, they know how many prisons to build. Which is crazy, because if you know that, then what are we doing to stop this?
It's a rigged system.
Bingo. And the one thing that we figured out, I mean, a Fresh Start is made up of Terry Morgan, who's the CEO. You met him. Gerald Bradford, they call him Coach Bradford. He's another co-founder. He's in education. And then we have Henderson, Carlisle Henderson, or excuse me, Henderson Carlisle. We call him Joe. And he's actually one of the directors of education leadership up here in Washington. And we got Bartholomew Kamadi, who is a technical engineer. So his whole focus is on STEM and VR. So our thing with Fresh Start is working to address what's going on inside the family of a young mind. So we are contacted when there's police contact. The courts will contact us, or the youth center. Sometimes the police department say, hey, look here, we got these kids in, they ain't got no background. You guys be interested in working with them, sitting down. And what we do is we have like a 6-week curriculum that we go through, but we don't work with, and the age limit, we started 16 to 24. Now it's actually all the way down to 13.
That's good. That's good.
13 years old. And the thing is to come in, not to introduce the child to new information, but to bring the entire family in.
It all starts with the young minds. Is
Right
you know,
there.
when you show a child love and kindness, they remember that. You know,
Right
they
there,
remember,
right there.
they take that on to adulthood, and then they want to mentor,
They want
you
to
know, to
emulate
give it
it.
back.
Bingo. And our thing is, you look at it, I mean, it comes to the point where, and this is a true story. I co-raised a great nephew, and he was a football player. He loved to play football, but he did not have an understanding of math. And if you don't keep a certain grade, you can't play football.
Yeah.
So we want him to play football. We want him to be happy. I had a good job. I'm sending him to tutors and everything else. He's doing good at home, but he's not doing good at school.
Mhm.
And he's doing good on the football field, but he's not doing good in the classroom.
And that can be discouraging. Plus, with his peers and teachers, you know how crucial it is to
Yeah,
educate somebody, and when they're learning, and like when they're getting made fun of for being, just because they learn just a little bit different than others, you know,
exactly.
not using their personality to their advantage and their skills.
And the thing is, when you come to look at it, and it took me a minute to come to understand, because at the same time that I'm understanding that they're giving him work to go home, there is no homework no more, because teachers don't want to grade it.
Mhm.
Because if they got graded, they got to volunteer that time, they're not getting paid. So they send homework home and they assume that the children are doing. Okay. But the biggest problem is that if my little guy is not understanding and he's bringing his homework home, but today's math is not like when I was going to school. So I don't understand the math.
Right.
So now I'm not really interested in what he's doing. And since there's nobody giving him no real oversight, he likes video games. What do you think he's doing?
Playing video games.
Bingo. And now we start to see the development of the school to prison pipeline. Because it's not just the education system, it's also community. It's
Mhm.
also family. So everybody has to be on the same page when it comes to the development of the young mind. And that's what they say, it takes a village to raise a child. If you don't have the village around the child, then that child's going to fall through the cracks somewhere.
Mhm.
And when they
Now,
fall through the cracks, it becomes that I'm not happy in school. They're making fun of me. I'm not as smart as the other kids. That pushes them farther and farther away.
and
Now all of a sudden, go ahead.
that's where the adult comes in.
Right there, right there.
That's being their, like, that has a
So,
wing over their shoulder.
so long story short, and there's a brother, Jeffrey Canada in New York, who has a thing called I think it's called the School Zone. He actually did this on a larger scale, and it's phenomenal. So what I did is, because I didn't understand what he didn't understand, instead of sending him to a tutor, we both went and we started learning together. And his retention went up a lot farther when it came to doing the work, because now he can get on the phone and say, Uncle Frank, what is this right here? And hey, we'd work it out on the phone.
Hey, that's like a prime example of homeschooling. I don't know if you ever heard of homeschooling, but I am a big advocate for that.
Yeah. I mean,
think-
this is homeschooling with professional assistance.
right,
Because
yeah,
we went outside, we did the school, he was still going to public school.
getting
But
tutors, yeah.
they actually accused me of helping him do his work, because they caught him on the phone talking to me. And it's like, no, we go to tutor together.
Well, in college, they taught me that it's good to communicate with your peers to get ideas to figure out projects and assignments if you're not understanding a certain thing.
So the village has to be on the same page about what is in the interest of the child, not what's in the interest of the system.
Mhm.
Because the system's building prisons. If you don't make it and you drop out of school, you're on the street. The next thing we know, you got police contact.
Mhm.
And if you're lucky, they'll call Fresh Start. If you're not lucky, you're in juvenile justice.
So what do you like take a schedule of checking up on the individual, like child or inmate, for an example, like say,
we follow up. The thing is with the youth, like I said, so we work with the family, because usually, let's take Sonny. If Sonny is doing good, now when you go to school from kindergarten to third grade, they teach you how to read. From the third grade to the sixth grade, you're supposed to be reading to learn. The problem is we have some children that have a struggle with reading, and they just keep passing them forward. And so by the time they get to the sixth grade, they're not reading to learn, because they're still trying to learn how to read.
and the teacher's just trying to get them out.
Bingo. So the thing is, but if we have somebody like you who's doing good, who's feeling good, everything is going good, then all of a sudden you find yourself over here with these other peers that we know are not in your interest. What is that about? So it comes down to not looking at you, but I have to look at the community that's around you, to include your family.
Mhm.
So now we're sitting there together, and it's the same exercise with my nephew and me. And when we're doing the work, I do the work with you and your guardian. If it be it your father, be it your mom, be it whoever's your legal guardian, they're on the screen with me or at the classroom with you and me, and we're going over a workbook. So everybody's learning together on the same page. There is no hierarchy. We're all students. And in the process, because the workbook is a really a self-examination of your own behavior, where we start to get into that nuance as to, okay, well, how did you wind up over here? Well, I got tired of all the yelling that was in the house. So you're listening to a child or a young person now being real transparent about what the underlying trauma is that sent them over here. And now you got the parent who's a part of that dilemma that has to look at their child being honest with them about what's going on. And, we have had some, I'm not sure if you guys have a Nordstrom's, but we have had Nordstrom's executive and their children. We have had a lot of executives in their children's. And it's phenomenal to listen to how we have one, his brother was in the military, his brother played college ball, high school, college, went in the military. Two brothers did the same thing. The father was executive military. His pathway was already laid out for him, but he didn't want that path. They kept pushing it on him. And the more they kept pushing it on him, he's about ready to graduate. He's the captain of the football team in the whole bit. But he's starting to reject the pressure.
Yeah,
That was
they're having
being
the
placed on him.
expectation too high.
Bingo.
And that
And,
can,
and
the
it
pressure
sent
can make
him
you
in a
fold.
it sent him in a direction of starting to use marijuana, hanging out with the wrong people, getting into police contact. But what it did is it had to make the parents look at what are we doing?
Yeah.
We point the finger at him, but there's also three fingers pointing back at me.
Yeah.
So our thing is we look at the whole family, a holistic look at a situation. If somebody's unemployed, then we help them get a job.
in the
If
family.
some- Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
This ain't just about the child. This is about everybody. How
Okay.
do we get the whole family whole? So
Okay.
if the father, because most men that are not able to support, they don't feel like men. And a lot of times that's where domestic violence comes from because they're taking it out on somebody weaker. And it ain't about the weaker person, it's about their own inability to be what they claim. So here, you're talking to men who are ex-felons who have been to prison the whole bit. And our thing is, how can we help you so that you can help your child?
Right.
How can we bring wholeness? Because we're a village. So it's
So-
not just, you're not just, to me, Sonny, you're my little brother.
That's exactly the kind of mindset that a mentor should have.
There you go.
And
And
in
it
their
just
pupils.
really, it resonates. So blockchain, what we're doing, our program is actually more of an experimental pilot project because blockchain has dealt more with commerce and finance and stuff like that. But now we want to see how well it would do with healthcare.
Okay.
So when we're looking at, we could talk about continuum of care. So on the inside of an institution, most prisons, as you know, are little communities within a community.
Okay.
You have 3 hots in a cot, you can go to school, you can work, you get up, they have facility maintenance departments. A person can spend 20, 30 years inside of a prison. They have hospitals, medical health, the whole bit. And when they come out to the community, they have to start all over again. So inside a facility, the Department of Prison, Department of Corrections does a great job transferring a person from a prison to a prison to a prison, but they do terrible transferring them to the community. Matter of fact, we used to call it the good luck plan. They give you $40 up here in Seattle or in Washington State. When you're released, you get $40, a bus ticket, and a brown paper sack.
Mm.
It has hygiene products in it.
That's
That's your
just like
release
good
pack.
luck. There's a good luck, man. We'll see you
Good
back
luck.
here.
Bingo. Yeah. So the model that we created was called a continuum of care. Hooking people, connecting people with resources and connecting them with professional services, educational services, employment services before they get out of the system. So when a person is released, like I picked a young man up yesterday, I didn't know he was getting out. They're still doing a good luck plan, but he had enough information so that when I picked him up, they called me and say, hey, we got this guy. Do you know we can get him some housing? Yeah, our program will pay for housing. Don't worry about it. I got him. I'll come get him. I'm talking to him. He tells me he completed a pre-apprenticeship construction program and he was already connected to the Cement Masons Union. I get on my phone. I call my contact at the Cement Masons. He went down there this morning to get signed up.
Okay.
That's continuum. So the same thing he was doing inside of preparing to come home, now he has a connection,
Free of charge?
free of charge.
Ooh. Ooh, that's nice.
Direct
That's a nice
path
deal.
from a direct path from you from prison to union to a union wage.
That's an awesome opportunity.
And up here, I think he starts at $30 an hour.
So how can I do boat detailing in Florida? and in New England during the summers. How can I hire an individual? Like, how can I use your program?
Well, I
to
mean,
help?
basically, with the stuff that you're doing, I mean, it is really, I would love for you to come up here and see our model, because it's really a statewide model.
All right.
And Washington State is kind of just very progressive. But I have, like I said, I have some guys that do, that we were sending through the hazmat and hazardous chemical class. They all got certified. Lead-based paint was one of them.
Okay.
So removal of lead, which you have to be specially trained. The majority of boats are painted with what? Lead-based paint. So you have to have a specialist come in to be able to remove the paint. And there's a young man, I forget his name, but he created a business out of it. Formerly Justice Involved, and now he hires people that are coming out and he trains them, gets them certified to do the same thing.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
love to meet this individual.
Yeah, so here, what we do, my thing for somebody like you would be to get in contact with the education department that is in the nearest facility and offer a collaboration with them to be able to allow you to come in and give an overview of the employment opportunities that you offer.
Oh, kind of like what you're doing there.
Right there.
Oh, hey, that's a good idea. Thanks for helping me out there. Gotta
Because it's
definitely
not that hard. I mean, a lot of places are like I said, there are those states and those cities or counties that just have a negative position on reentry and the criminal justice system. If you break the law, you go do your time, and when you get out, do good. That's all it's about. Then there are those that are progressive that said, look here, a lot of reasons why people are in these positions is because of lack of information.
Mhm.
So if we have them in our care, then let's provide them with the necessary information for them to be successful in the community.
And from what I experienced when I was locked up is most of the inmates, no, I'm not stereotyping, is that they're illiterate. They can't read or write. And it's kind of heartbreaking, you know. I just like, you know.
And the thing, and you're absolutely correct. Because you got to remember, I mean, we have a society that is constantly evolving. So our different modes of production, from going from agriculture through going from the agricultural age, which takes us back into slavery, where it was all about farming, to the machine age, the manufacturing age. Now we're in the information technology age, and it's like, really, if you can't keep up, then you're gonna spend the rest of your life trying to play catch up.
Yeah, and trusting people that are not after their best interest.
Right there. So here, and it's funny because we're talking about this is the ending, this is the celebration of the ending of slavery, but it's not. We just changed the type of slave you are.
Mhm.
Because you go from being chattel property to now being owned by whatever organization or employer you have.
There's private prisons, federal
There you go.
prisons, all type of prisons, state prisons.
So I mean, and because of credit and debt and the way that our economy is operating, we all find ourselves under a ball and chain to something. And for those who can't cope, then self-medication becomes that type of vehicle to at least make them feel better about right now. Because it ain't gonna make you feel good later, it just makes you feel good right now. And I was watching a thing that somebody was saying how they cherish happy hour. And it's like happy hour. You just go in, and matter of fact, who was it? It was Marlon Williams. And it's like, yeah, man, happy hour. We just go in. And for me to drink longer than an hour, that's just too much drinking. But the thing is, if you're a recovering addict or alcoholic, you better find happy hour doing something else, because you can't use substance because you have a propensity to go overboard.
Okay.
So we have to, just like me, my happy hour is helping people.
Great. Great.
And it's
Never
so
stop.
intricate.
Never
Yeah, it's so
stop.
intricately intertwined into my profession and what I do. Is like my lady, you met her. She says, "You never have a day off. You're constantly doing. You're constantly working. But at the end of the day, it's just enjoy. It's a part of my recovery. I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world."
You love what you do. And that's the
Right
most
there.
important thing that I preach to my
Yeah.
listeners. Now, real
So
quick,
going back to the blockchain, too, but to not that, because I know I kind of deviated from that subject. But as a pilot project, what we want to do, we have to be honest brokers. We have to be able to trust the information that we're getting. And so I believe you met one of the ladies that was with us, Anna Pereira. She is the director of Anna9, CEO of Anna9 Counseling Employment. Her organization, they do mental health, behavioral health, chemical dependency. They work with DVR and a few other programs, and they do reentry work. So by being connected through the same database, with the right documents, to protect people against HIPAA and everything else, we actually have a vehicle where we can transfer information in real time.
okay.
Back and
Hey,
forth.
I think Terrence is trying to get in. Hey, Terrence.
There he is. Yeah.
Hey, we have
Hey,
2
how you
minutes.
doing?
Good, good. We have 2 minutes left. So why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about yourself and give them with a big bang in the next 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. First of all, I'd like to apologize for coming on late. I was in a late meeting, and thank you for allowing me to be in this space. My name is Terrence Morgan. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Fresh Start Professional Service, which is a peer-to-peer based program. I'm formally just as involved. I helped create this program with my brother, Franklin Smith. We
Oh, I didn't know you two were brothers. Awesome.
yeah, we're not biological brothers, but we're brothers.
All
Okay,
part of the
okay.
same family.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Going
anyway,
spiritual.
yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, but we work with a lot of individuals coming out of prisons and jails, homelessness, domestic violence, drug addiction, and we are givers of the community now. We work to just try to make our community better, educate our young people. We work with a lot of young people and just work to educate our people that there is success for BIPOC communities out here. And we also work with a lot of the government agencies and just
Cool.
trying to
Real quick,
give
I don't mean to
yeah,
cut
try
you
to-
off, but like, what was the hardest thing that your company ever experienced? Go ahead, give me you have a few seconds, so give me your best shot.
the hardest thing I think we experienced was just I think developing the culture for our program. We
Okay.
knew what we wanted, and we brought people in, but getting the community to understand and trust and building trust in us that we come from a past where we weren't